All right, picture this.
Okay.
You're a time traveler,
Mm-hmm.
stepping back 12,000 years.
Okay.
You're not in some, barren, icy wasteland,
Right.
but a vast, fertile grassland,
Wow.
teeming with life.
Okay.
And there on the horizon,
Yeah.
a herd of woolly mammoths grazes peacefully.
Amazing.
It's a scene straight out of a prehistoric postcard,
Yeah.
and it's closer to reality than you might think.
It is amazing how these Ice Age giants capture our imagination.
Isn't it?
They seem so alien,
Yeah.
yet their story is surprisingly intertwined with our own.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today.
Great.
World of the Woolly Mammoth.
All right.
We've got cutting-edge research,
Uh-huh.
expert insights,
Okay.
and even some ancient cave art analysis
Wow.
to really paint a picture of these incredible creatures.
That's fantastic.
And trust me,
Okay.
there are some fascinating surprises along the way.
Really?
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single detail
Yeah, good idea.
of this incredible journey back in time.
So what's so compelling about woolly mammoths
Yeah.
is that they challenge our preconceived notions of prehistory.
Right.
They weren't relics of some unimaginably distant past.
Yeah.
They roamed the earth while the pyramids were being built.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
You probably know that elephants and mammoths
Yeah.
share a common ancestor,
Uh-huh.
but the specifics of that evolutionary split might surprise you.
Interesting.
Their story starts not in the frozen Arctic,
Oh,
but in, wait for it, Africa.
that's right. Around 5 million years ago,
Wow.
the ancestors of woolly mammoths were actually tropical elephant relatives,
Huh.
living it up in the African savanna.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't a straight line
Okay.
from there to the woolly mammoth we all know and love.
Oh,
It was
right.
more like a branching family tree
Okay.
with different mammoth species adapting to different environments over time.
Just like our own human evolution.
Exactly.
It's a family affair with lots of twists and turns.
As the ice ages began to grip the planet. Around 2.6 million years ago,
Yeah.
one branch of this mammoth family took a dramatic turn,
Yeah.
evolving into the cold hardy behemoth we know as the woolly mammoth.
Now here's where things get really interesting.
All right.
How did these mammoths transform from sun-loving ancestors
Yeah,
into creatures capable of surviving in sub-zero temperatures?
that's a great question.
Talk about an extreme makeover.
So imagine the changes needed to go from a tropical climate to an environment where temperatures could plummet to well below freezing.
Yeah.
First, they developed shorter tails and tiny ears compared to their African elephant cousins.
Okay.
That helped minimize frostbite and heat loss.
Right.
No more giant heat-radiating ears for these guys.
And of course, there's that iconic fur coat.
Absolutely.
Forget your winter parka.
Aha.
We're talking about a meter-long outer layer of hair,
Wow.
6 times thicker than human hair,
Really?
plus a cozy undercoat.
Oh, wow.
That was practically like wearing a layer of cotton wool. And let's not forget the thick layer of fat for insulation.
Right.
These mammoths were the ultimate Ice Age survivors.
They really were incredibly adapted.
Absolutely.
And what's fascinating is that we have this incredibly rich archaeological record
Oh.
to help us understand these adaptations.
Wow.
Think complete skeletons,
Wow.
frozen carcasses preserved in permafrost,
Mm.
and even those vivid cave paintings created by Ice Age humans.
Wow.
It's like having snapshots of these creatures frozen in time.
It's like having a time machine, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of snapshots,
Okay.
these weren't solitary creatures, were they?
Not at all.
Oh, no.
Woolly mammoths roamed in herds. And at their peak, their population is estimated to have been around 10 million individuals.
10 million.
To put that into perspective,
Wow.
that's more than twice the number of elephants alive today.
Wow, 10 million mammoths.
Yeah.
Their range must have been enormous.
It was. They roamed a vast territory that stretched from Ireland to Spain,
Wow.
across Asia. And get this.
Thanks to land bridges that connected continents during the Ice Age.
Oh, wow.
They even made it all the way into Alaska and down to the Great Lakes region of North America.
So these mammoths were basically road tripping across continents.
You could say that.
No wonder they needed to eat almost constantly.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Their diet consisted mainly of grasses.
Okay.
And to fuel those massive bodies,
Yeah.
they needed a whopping 400 kilograms of the stuff every single day.
400 kilograms.
They were essentially grazing machines,
Wow.
constantly munching away on the mammoth steppe,
Okay.
a vast grassland ecosystem that stretched across much of the northern hemisphere.
That's an incredible amount of food.
It is.
But all that eating must have had some benefits for the ecosystem, right?
You're absolutely right. Mammoths played a crucial role in nutrient cycling
Okay.
by breaking down plant matter and, let's just say, redistributing it
Uh-huh.
across the landscape.
Right.
They were essentially fertilizing the mammoth steppe on a grand scale.
So while they were chowing down,
They were also helping to maintain this incredible ecosystem.
that's right.
But what about their lifespan?
Okay.
How long did these massive herbivores actually live?
Well, just like with trees,
Okay.
their tusks had growth rings that provide clues about their age.
Oh, interesting.
Based on these rings, we estimate their lifespan to be comparable to modern elephants,
Okay.
around 60 to 70 years.
Wow.
That's a pretty long life for such a large animal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And speaking of those massive tusks,
Okay.
they weren't just for show, were they?
Definitely not.
Oh, sorry?
While they likely played a role in attracting mates
Hmm.
and intimidating rivals,
Right.
those magnificent spiraling tusks,
Yeah.
sometimes reaching lengths that could even cross,
Oh, wow.
were primarily weapons. They would have been a formidable defense against predators
Yeah.
and a powerful tool for foraging in the snow.
Now, I can't resist asking about humans and mammoths.
Sure.
It coexisted, right?
They did.
Okay.
And this is where things get a bit more complex.
All right. Woolly mammoths were already well established in the Americas over 1 million years
Wow.
before the first humans arrived on the scene.
Okay.
So for a long time, these giants roamed a continent undisturbed.
But eventually humans and mammoths did cross paths.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of debate about the extent to which humans hunted woolly mammoths.
Oh, okay.
The archaeological evidence is limited,
Right.
but we do have some sites showing butchering marks on mammoth bones.
It's a fascinating puzzle, isn't it?
It is.
Trying to piece together those interactions from thousands of years ago.
Absolutely.
And while the debate continues,
Yeah.
it's likely that humans interacted with mammoths in a variety of ways.
Right.
Perhaps they hunted them occasionally,
Mhm.
but they probably also scavenged carcasses
Yeah.
and took advantage of opportunities to target weaker animals.
It makes sense.
Doesn't it?
Why risk a direct confrontation with a healthy adult mammoth
Right.
when you could scavenge a carcass or target a more vulnerable individual?
Especially when you consider the sheer size of a mammoth carcass,
Yeah.
it's not exactly easy to transport a 6-ton animal.
That brings us to those intriguing kill sites
Okay.
versus natural death assemblages. These sites can provide valuable clues
Right.
about how mammoths lived and died.
There's a famous site in South Dakota called Mammoth Hot Springs,
Okay.
where a sinkhole reveals a tragic scene
Oh,
of a mother mammoth trying desperately to save her calf.
wow.
It's a reminder that these creatures weren't immune to natural disasters,
Yeah.
accidents,
Mhm.
or even just the vulnerabilities of youth.
And then there's the Colby site in Wyoming,
Right.
which suggests humans might have cached mammoth meat for winter,
Yeah.
almost like a prehistoric deep freeze.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
Yeah.
And it highlights how humans,
Yeah.
even in the Ice Age, were developing strategies to survive harsh conditions
Right.
and utilize the resources available to them.
So we've got these incredible creatures roaming the Ice Age landscape,
Yes.
interacting with early humans in complex ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then they vanish.
Right.
What happened?
Good question.
Why did the woolly mammoth disappear?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no simple answer.
Oh.
The extinction of the woolly mammoth, like many extinctions in Earth's history, was likely a complex interplay of factors.
Dramatic climate change at the end of the Ice Age certainly played a role.
Uh-huh.
But remember, climate change isn't a uniform process.
Right.
It affects different regions in different ways and at different times.
Exactly.
And it's important to remember that each species responds to environmental changes in unique ways.
That's true.
Some adapt,
Yeah.
some migrate,
Uh-huh.
and sadly, some go extinct.
Right.
The end of the Pleistocene,
Mm-hmm.
around 12,000 years ago,
Yeah.
was a time of massive ecological upheaval.
It was.
Over 38 genera of animals went extinct in North America alone.
Wow.
The woolly mammoth wasn't alone in facing these challenges.
And this brings us to one of the most intriguing pieces of the mammoth puzzle.
Okay.
The fact that some populations managed to survive much longer than others,
Oh, really?
while woolly mammoths disappeared from mainland North America around 10,000 years ago.
Wow.
They persisted in isolated pockets like the Taimyr Peninsula in Siberia
Okay.
until about 4,000 years ago.
That's incredible. To think that woolly mammoths were still around while the pyramids were being built
I know, right?
is just mind-boggling. What was so special about the Taymyr Peninsula?
Well, the Taymyr Peninsula finding is really fascinating
Uh-huh.
because it challenges some of our assumptions about mammoth extinction.
Yeah.
It seems that this particular region provided a sort of refuge,
Okay.
a place where the mammoth steppe ecosystem with its unique vegetation
Wow.
and climate conditions persisted much longer than in other parts of the world.
So it wasn't just about climate change,
Right.
but also about the availability of the right kind of habitat.
Exactly. And what's even more intriguing is that there's no evidence of human hunting pressure on this late surviving mammoth population.
Oh, wow.
So in this case, it seems their extinction was driven solely by the eventual disappearance of their specialized habitat.
It's a poignant reminder that even creatures as mighty as the woolly mammoth
Yeah,
were ultimately dependent on the delicate balance of their ecosystem.
absolutely.
But let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and talk about some of the more, shall we say, hands-on discoveries.
Right.
Talk about those frozen carcasses that have been unearthed over the years.
Yes. The frozen mammoths.
Yes.
They're like time capsules offering a glimpse into the past that's almost surreal.
Yeah.
These incredibly well-preserved specimens have allowed scientists to study mammoth anatomy and physiology in unprecedented detail.
It's almost like having a mammoth right there on the lab, isn't it?
It really is remarkable.
Oh, we've already talked about their fur and their tusks.
Yeah.
But what about their skulls?
Okay.
Those high-domed skulls are so distinctive.
You're
What can they tell us about how these animals lived?
Well, one of the most striking things about a woolly mammoth skull,
Huh.
besides its size, of course,
Right.
is its high domed shape,
Right.
which is quite different from the skulls of modern elephants.
Okay.
This unique structure was likely an adaptation
Okay.
to accommodate the massive muscles and tendons needed to support those incredibly heavy tusks.
It's like they needed a reinforced crane system just to hold up their heads.
Exactly. And remember, those powerful neck muscles were also essential
Yeah.
for wielding those tusks in fights or for foraging in deep snow.
And speaking of foraging, their teeth were pretty specialized too, weren't they?
They were.
Those high-crowned teeth seem perfectly designed
Yeah.
for grinding down tough grasses.
Absolutely. Remember, they were eating up to 400 kilograms of grasses every day?
Right.
Their teeth needed to be durable enough to withstand that kind of constant wear and tear.
It's amazing how every aspect of their anatomy,
Uh-huh.
from their fur to their
Yeah.
teeth, was so perfectly suited to their icy world.
They were truly marvels of evolution.
But were there any surprises? Any unexpected adaptations that scientists have uncovered?
There is one fascinating discovery that really highlights the power of evolution to fine-tune organisms to their environments.
Okay.
It has to do with mammoth hemoglobin,
Okay.
the molecule responsible for carrying oxygen throughout the body.
Yeah.
Scientists were actually able to extract DNA from mammoth remains
Wow.
and recreate their hemoglobin in the lab.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did they find?
They found that mammoth hemoglobin had unique properties
Mm-hmm.
that allowed it to function efficiently,
Okay.
even at temperatures close to freezing.
Wow.
This was a crucial adaptation for survival in the frigid Arctic.
Right.
It ensured that oxygen could reach their extremities,
Okay.
even when their feet were submerged in snow or ice.
Wow. That's incredible. It's like having built-in antifreeze for your blood.
Uh-huh. You could say that.
I never would have guessed that something as seemingly simple as hemoglobin
Right.
could play such a crucial role in their survival.
It's a great example of how evolution works at multiple levels.
Yeah.
From visible features like fur and tusks
Uh-huh.
down to the molecular machinery of life.
Right.
It's a reminder that even tiny changes invisible to the naked eye
Yeah.
can have a huge impact on survival.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden within the mammoth genome,
It does, doesn't it?
waiting to be discovered.
And that's what makes paleontology so exciting.
Yeah.
With each new fossil,
Uh-huh.
each DNA analysis,
Right.
we gain a deeper understanding of these incredible creatures
Yeah.
and the world they inhabited.
Speaking of mysteries, there's still so much we don't know about woolly mammoths.
That's true.
For example, how did they communicate with each other? What were their social structures like?
Good questions.
Did they have any unique behaviors that we haven't even discovered yet?
Those are all excellent questions.
Yeah.
And they highlight how much more there is to learn.
Right.
We can speculate based on what we know about modern elephants,
Uh-huh.
but woolly mammoths were unique creatures in their own right.
Right?
They may have had vocalizations,
Yeah.
social cues, or even migratory patterns that were entirely their own.
It's like there's a whole secret world of woolly mammoth behavior waiting to be uncovered.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps us paleontologists going.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Each new discovery has the potential to unlock another secret
Uh-huh.
and bring us closer to understanding these magnificent animals.
I completely agree.
It's like piecing together a giant prehistoric puzzle.
It is.
Now, I know many of our listeners are probably wondering,
Okay.
if we could ever bring these magnificent creatures back to life.
Right.
I mean, we see it all the time in movies, right?
Yeah.
Jurassic Park and all that.
Exactly.
Is it really possible to resurrect the woolly mammoth?
That's a question that captures the imagination, doesn't it?
It really does.
And it's a topic that generates a lot of excitement and debate.
Yeah.
While the idea of seeing a woolly mammoth roam the earth again might seem like something out of science fiction,
Right.
the reality is a bit more complicated.
So what's the verdict? Could we or should we bring back the woolly mammoth?
Well, first we need to understand that cloning,
Okay.
as depicted in movies,
Right.
is not currently possible with extinct animals like the woolly mammoth.
Okay.
While we can extract DNA from their remains, the DNA is often fragmented and degraded,
Right.
making it extremely difficult to reconstruct a complete genome.
So cloning is off the table for now.
Now, yeah.
But what about other approaches?
There's been a lot of talk about using genetic engineering techniques to
Okay.
create a mammoth-like animal.
Okay.
Essentially, this would involve modifying the genome of a modern elephant
Right.
to introduce mammoth genes that code for traits like thick fur,
Hmm.
small ears,
Yeah.
and cold-adapted hemoglobin.
So it wouldn't be a true woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
That's sort of hybrid,
Yeah.
a genetically modified elephant with mammoth-like characteristics.
Exactly. And even this approach facing significant scientific and ethical challenges.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, on the scientific side, we're still a long way
Okay.
from fully understanding the complexities of the mammoth genome
Uh-huh.
and how those genes interact with each other
Mm-hmm.
and with the environment.
It's one thing to identify a gene for thick fur,
Right.
but it's another thing entirely to understand how that gene is regulated,
Exactly.
how it interacts with other genes,
Uh-huh.
and how it would function in a living animal.
You hit the nail on the head.
And then there are the ethical considerations.
Yes, of course.
Like what?
Well, for starters, do we have the right
Okay.
to bring back a species that went extinct thousands of years ago?
Right.
What are the potential ecological consequences
Mhm.
of introducing a mammoth-like animal into existing ecosystems?
Yeah.
And perhaps most importantly, what are the welfare implications for these animals?
It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
It is. These are complex questions with no easy answers.
It really makes you realize that bringing back the woolly mammoth isn't just a scientific challenge.
Right.
It's a philosophical one as well.
Precisely. It forces us to consider our role in the natural world
Yeah.
and the potential consequences of our actions.
So while the prospect of seeing a woolly mammoth roam the earth again is tantalizing,
Mm-hmm.
it's clear that we need to proceed with caution
Yes.
and a deep respect for the complexities of life and ecosystems.
I couldn't agree more. The woolly mammoth's legacy
Yeah.
isn't just about its extinction.
Right.
It's also about the lessons it can teach us about adaptation, resilience, and the interconnectedness of all living things.
And those lessons are more relevant than ever
Absolutely.
in a world grappling with climate change and biodiversity loss.
By studying creatures like the woolly mammoth,
Yeah.
we can gain valuable insights into how ecosystems function, how species respond to environmental change, and ultimately how to create a more sustainable future.
It's like the woolly mammoth is a messenger from the past,
I love that analogy.
urging us to pay attention to the delicate balance of our planet.
It really captures the essence of what we can learn from these magnificent creatures.
So what can our listeners do? How can they connect with the woolly mammoth story
Okay.
and become part of this ongoing conversation about our planet's future?
Well, one of the best ways is to visit a museum
Okay.
with a good paleontology collection.
Uh-huh.
Seeing a woolly mammoth skeleton up close,
Yeah.
those massive tusks, those
Right.
powerful limb bones,
Wow.
it really brings their story to life in a way that pictures and descriptions simply can't.
It's like stepping back in time,
Yeah.
coming face to face with a creature that walked the earth tens of thousands of years ago.
I know.
It sparks a sense of wonder and awe,
It does.
and can also inspire a deeper appreciation for the history of life on Earth.
Absolutely. And for those who want to delve even deeper,
Yeah.
there are so many incredible resources available.
Like what?
Books,
Okay.
documentaries,
Hmm.
online
Right.
articles, even scientific papers.
Wow.
There's a wealth of information out there for anyone who wants to explore the world of the woolly mammoth.
You know, I've always been fascinated by those cave paintings of woolly mammoths.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It's incredible to think that our ancestors were not only living alongside these creatures,
I know.
but they were also creating art inspired by them.
It's amazing.
It speaks to a profound connection between humans and the natural world,
Mm-hmm.
a connection that we seem to have lost touch with in modern times.
I agree. Those cave paintings are truly remarkable.
Yeah.
They offer a glimpse into the minds of our ancestors,
Mhm.
their beliefs,
Mhm.
their fears,
Yeah.
and their relationship with the animals that shared their world.
And they remind us that the woolly mammoth wasn't just a source of food or raw materials, it was also a source of inspiration, a symbol of power and resilience, and perhaps even a spiritual presence in the lives of Ice Age humans.
Exactly. The woolly mammoth's legacy extends far beyond its physical remains.
It does.
It lives on in our art,
Uh-huh.
our stories,
Hmm.
and our ongoing quest to understand the history of life on Earth.
Well said. And on that note,
Yeah.
we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of the woolly mammoth.
Wow.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From their origins in Africa to their adaptations to the Ice Age,
Uh-huh.
their interactions with early humans, the
Mhm.
mysteries surrounding their extinction,
Yeah.
and the tantalizing possibility of their return.
It's been a fascinating journey,
It has.
and I hope it's inspired our listeners to learn more about these incredible creatures and
Yeah.
the world they inhabited.
Before we sign off,
Okay.
we always like to leave our listeners with something to ponder,
All right.
a final thought to spark their curiosity.
Okay, I like it.
So here's one for you. If you could travel back in time
Yeah.
and see a woolly mammoth in the flesh,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the first thing you would do?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Huh?
I think I just stand there in awe,
Okay.
trying to absorb the sheer scale and majesty of these incredible creatures. What about you?
Honestly, I think I'd be too busy running in the other direction.
Ah, really?
Those tusks are pretty intimidating.
Huh? A wise choice, perhaps.
But in all seriousness,
Oi?
the woolly mammoth story is a powerful reminder
Yes.
that even in extinction,
Mm-hmm.
there are lessons to be learned and inspiration to be found.
That's a great way to put it.
By understanding the past,
Yeah.
we can better navigate the present
Uh-huh.
and create a more sustainable future for all.
Beautifully put. And I hope our listeners will join us on that journey of discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the woolly mammoth.
It was my pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss our next adventure.
Yes, please do.
Into the fascinating world of mention, next episode topic here.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that sense of wonder alive.